Alright, what time is it? 10:32 a.m, which means it is officially unboxing time. Every Marvel release seems to have been delayed about 5 times, like the Invader has Omnibus. So it has been quite a while since I've had something to unbox. I didn't know what was in here, but my predictions are it is a Hulk Epic Collection, and I am going to get pneumonia this year. I was wrong, so maybe I am wrong about the pneumonia as well. This is Captain America Epic Collection, Sturm und Drang. To answer your immediate question, it means storm and stress, or storm and distress. It was a literary genre that was big in Germany in the 18th century. If I remember correctly, Drang doesn't actually translate to stress or distress at all. Drang means, let's think, see Drang, ein Drang. Drang means something like desire, something like that. Rather than confusing everyone with outdated German writing movements, I don't know why they didn't call this The Death of Red Skull Man, which is the main story that is in most of this collection. Writer for most of this is DeMatteis, with art by your boy Zeck and Paul Neary. This one is volume 11 of the series, and what is great is with this we now have a complete run of Captain America 247 all the way to 419, almost comparable to the single issues I have. I have 215 through to 443, but without some filling issues that I didn't want. They picked the cover to Captain America 299 for the front here. Not a bad choice. I didn't know if we are going to have one of my what cover would I pick to put on the front features, because I think I would have picked the same one. We open with Captain America Annual 7, which I do own, even though it fits into the remit of one of those fill-in type of issues that I didn't want. This is written by Peter Gilbert. It features the Tesseract and Jesus Christ. And when you get to Defenders 150, New Defenders 150, Peter Gilbert calls back to this annual, and if you haven't read it, Defenders 150 makes very little sense. A lot of world building and mythology with the Tesseract, but it's Peter Gilbert, so it's just not very good. I really don't have any interest in talking about or rereading this one. The paper is below average. We kick off the collection proper with what may be one of the best covers in the history of comics. It obviously doesn't belong on the front cover of this collection because it is more of a Death Clock cover than a Captain America one. But it wouldn't be bad as a back cover, which it isn't. Sadly, the story that follows peters out enormously and barely really does what I think a Captain America Death Clock story should be doing. There's some good parts in the first 2 issues. The fighting in part 2, for example, is decent enough. I think a fight between Captain America and Death Clock is the obvious thing people want to see, but after that, it becomes quite fucking bad. I have reviewed this story in its entirety, so I won't get too into it here or my specific criticisms. I think the Falcon Man miniseries is gonna be after this. Nailed it. I have complained in other videos about Captain America Epic Collections padding the page count with unrelated miniseries and one-shots. And I also complained about them including this Falcon Man miniseries. But my complaints are separate. I think, yeah, this likely should be collected in a Captain America Epic collection. My beef is that it is a bad miniseries, and that other Epic collections, like Spider-Man and Fantastic Force, do not contain miniseries of a similar relevance. Those ones in particular are very efficiently just ignoring almost everything outside of the main series. When, if you are including Falcon Man in Captain America, there is no argument at all that the Black Cat miniseries should be overlooked in Spider-Man, or that Fantastic Force Unplugged or Fantastic Force Unlimited should be ignored in Fantastic Force Epic collections. My other reservation is that I can see Marvel doing one of those Falcon Man Epic collections where it just collects a bunch of his appearances in Captain America and Avengers and this miniseries. Really, my main thing is that this is not very good. Main thing of note is, I believe this is Mark Brigight's debut at Marvel. Then we have Captain America 290 with a Jason Byrne cover. This issue is the first appearance of Red Skull Man's daughter, Sin, as well as right at the end, the first appearance of Black Crow. At least one of my viewers liked Black Crow, so I thought I would point that out. We will come back to Black Crow after this issue, which is a fill-in issue by Bill Bungalow. It features a new version of the Silver Age Captain America foil, Tumbler. The original Tumbler died in Captain America 167, and this new one is his brother, but also not a bad guy. He is an ally to Captain America in this one story, and I have mentioned this a dozen or so times, but for years and years after this story, every few months there would be a letter printed in Captain America where somebody would want this tumbler to return. He never did. So with 292, we properly get into Black Crow and what he is. Black Crow is one of them Native American mysticism characters that I often find tiresome. But he dresses up as a bird, so that partially makes him interesting. What is certainly incredible is that the original plan was for Black Crow to replace Captain America after issue 300. And I am glad that that didn't happen, but who knows if it would have been any good. In my opinion, Black Crow is not set up or established enough to fill that role. At least John Walters, you could see why that character would personally want to take the mantle. There is no reason at all in these issues why Black Crow would choose to become Captain America. Secret Wars tie-in time. Here is a completely pointless link to Jim DeMatteis' Defenders run. We have a character brainwashed and suddenly dressing like Slayer Man and using his magic cloak. Jim DeMatteis built his own little corner at Marvel, but some stuff like incorporating this Slayer Man mythology for no reason seems very needless and indulgent. One of the most exciting things in this story is Baron Zero, still a relatively new character at the time. He gets further cemented as a major Captain America enemy here, and not long after this he shows up in Avengers, leading the new Masters of Evil. I respect a lot of these issues and this run, but that is to say, I am not entirely sure if I like them. I definitely like the bits with Baron Zero, but my feelings on this run have usually been me thinking that I like it, and then rereading them and realising they are either just okay or pretty bad. Jim DeMatteis does do some great stuff, don't get us wrong. There's some great issues and stories in there, but there's also some incredibly lousy ones, like the Death Clock one, or the Team America one. There's the cover that is on front of this one. The Death of Red Skull Man was previously available in a trade, and it comes from this period where there seemed to be a focus on giving the arch-enemy one big final story. We see it a lot between 1984 and 1994. This is touted as the final clash between Captain America and Red Skull Man. There is a 4th story 5 or so years later that does the same with Tom Hiddleston. And even after that, there is also a Hulk story that boasts the same with Reader. There are definitely a lot more stories like that during that 10 or so years. It is an odd little attitude that kept showing its head. Bonuses include the cover art for a trade collecting the Death Clock story, which doesn't even include the final part of it. Anti-book profiles for Captain America and Falcon Man, as well as Red Skull Man, and then some of Captain America's accessories and weapons. And at the top we have Falcon Man's wings from the anti-books. And at the bottom, the back cover and the front cover for that trade of the Death of Red Skull Man that I mentioned. There is stuff to enjoy in here. Jim DeMatteis is not a bad writer at all, but at times he did struggle with Captain America. Other than his reintroduction of Baron Zero, he didn't have all that much impact on the series. And reading some of his lesser entries, it's understandable why it is either mostly forgotten, or in my case, mostly misremembered. Maybe the biggest sin of his run was that it didn't once include Batroc. I will give this epic collection somewhere near 7 thumbs up.